lot of our clients are landlords. And one of the frustrations our landlord clients have is a disconnect in communication between their brokers, the tenant brokers, the property management company, and then their construction managers. And for a landlord to be successful, most likely they're going to put some kind of investment into a tenant space. So if a 5,000 square foot office tenant's moving in, more than likely that landlord is going to have some kind of capital outlay to pay for that space. The reason they're paying for those improvements into that space is because that capital outlay for the new carpet, the new walls, the new ceiling, the new lights pays back in rent that they make over 3, 5, 7, 10-year lease from a tenant. So it's like any other investment. They want to make money on their investment. So they're investing money in the space in order to get a return on the lease. The success of that investment greatly depends on the construction manager's ability to deliver that space for the amount of money that was agreed upon in the lease and getting rent to commence at the time that was agreed upon in the lease. So what we end up having in our industry a lot of times is you've got a broker that's working with a tenant to look at space, and they're saying, okay, let's do a 5-year deal on 5,000 square feet for X number of dollars, and we'll build out, they'll walk around the space, and we think we can build this out for you for $40 a foot, $60 a foot, $80, whatever it is. And then they proceed through some kind of lease negotiation in this area. There's a test fit or a space plan that happens, and you're starting to get closer and closer to making a deal happen. And then at some point, you're gonna get a pricing plan done, and from that pricing plan, you're gonna end up with some actual estimated costs. What happens too often is this cost come back higher than the brokers, the tenant broker and the landlord broker thought it was going to be. So now you've got to go back in this process to talk about, okay, what do we eliminate? What we like to do is a little bit different. We want to engage the brokers right away. As soon as they're talking to a prospective tenant, we have a programming document that we have our landlord brokers give to the potential tenants right away. So we're knowing how many private offices, do they have any special equipment, do they have any special electric needs? We are also already saying, hey, broker, this building just has some things that need to happen on every tenant finish. It might be base building electrical upgrades, it might be new lights to the energy code, it might be new HVAC controls because the building's older and the owner wants to update it throughout the life cycle of all these build outs. So we're giving this programming document to the brokers right away so that they can start that conversation, right? And we already will know that basically just based on what needs to happen, you're already at a certain amount of dollars per square foot that are already baked into the deal. We also set pricing plan standards with our landlord architects so that what they deliver, they're delivering every time. So the notes are the same, the pricing expectations are the same. We have a pool of general contractors, say 5 to 6, that will work in our buildings, that are familiar with the building, that are familiar with the HVAC controls, that are familiar with the electrical systems. They're also familiar with the architects and engineers and plans and notes so that we can have this be repeatable. So there's really kind of 2 phases to most of these tenant build outs. There's a pre-lease phase and then there's a post-lease phase. All right, so we've come to here's how much it's gonna cost to give you the 5,000 square foot space that you want. Again, landlord might be paying for some of it, none of it, all of it. Tenant might have to pay for portions of it. They kind of negotiate that, and then that affects the terms of the lease, what the rental rate is, when rent commencement is gonna be based on a schedule that we got in this phase. And then they're gonna say, okay, we're ready, we've signed a lease, we're ready to go. Things start to get, in theory, a little bit easier. But what also happens here is depending how long this lease negotiation phase took, pricing may have changed. You could have pricing escalation that happened over that time frame. Also, once the architect can start the construction documents, now there's going to be more information. The more information that's in the construction documents can lead to increased prices as well. So what we also do in our process is we have different points where everyone has to check the drawings. They have to sign off on the drawing, say, we agree with what's in here. So that way, when we go from our pricing plan up here to our construction document set down here, we didn't add 4 more offices. We didn't add $7,000 worth of decorative lighting. We didn't put new locks on the doors because we signed off on the scope over here. Then we're gonna sign off on the scope here. Well, what's also important that you have to remember is not only do we have the tenant, and we've got the brokers, but we've got the building asset manager, and we've got the building engineers as well. And you have to have good communication with all these people throughout the project because they all have buy-in and they all have a stake in the success of that project. So we keep this process really right in front of everybody the entire time so that they know exactly what's expected of them when and the consequences of missing any dates. We now have predictable, repeatable results. And with this process, once the entire team gets it down a few times, we can go from working on 3 or 4 projects at a time to working on 20 projects at a time because everything in here is standardized.